Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and a new episode of our online interview series. We want to get an update today from Osisko Development, and famous Sean Roosen, the CEO, is here with us. Good morning to Canada. How are you, Sean?
Most excellent, Joker, and glad to be with everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking the time. As we all know, you have a lot of work and tons of work to do. So let's get directly into medias res. I'm a shareholder of the company. I want to disclose that upfront, of course. And yeah, it looks like when you guys are going out in the field and drill, you always get only outstanding results. This is unbelievable what I saw here. I think that news is from 3rd April. And I mean, this is a set of superlative drill results, right? How did you make that?
Well, we're quite happy with the acquisition of Tintic, and this has been a project that we've been pursuing for 13 years. Originally brought to us by the famous porphyry expert Dick Silito back in 2010 to 2011, and we've been trying to acquire this project for a long time. But this high-grade gold discovery happened in 2021, which really accelerated the situation. We were able to close the acquisition in the spring of 2022. And that's, we've been just working on this project and compiling the historic data and then looking at this new discovery. And it's, this project is just builds strength every day. We've got our friend from Ivanhoe Electric to the south of us, who's drilling on our border. So having Robert Friedland in the camp is really brings some attention to the story as well. We're both in pursuit at the end of the day, the copper gold porphyry system that we believe could be an analog to Bingham. We're in the same rocks as Bingham, which we're about 40 miles south of, which is an extraordinary project. It's produced 57 million ounces of gold, about 35 million tons of copper, and over 500 million ounces of silver. So this is a very fertile camp, very fertile mineralization, and we have some intercepts from previous operators that show that the porphyry is there, but nobody's ever drilled under these big litho caps. So in the interim, we're working on the high-grade gold story, but the big story will start drilling this summer on that porphyry copper gold target, and exciting times at Tintic. So that's the main event for this, the main catalyst for the short to near term.
Okay, super. And I mean, with those grades, we really must not be worried about production. You are already producing a little bit. So how is that going? And what is, let's say, the next immediate plan to really bring this to life?
So we've launched a brand new ramp, which would be a production ramp about 4 by 5 meters, which allow us to use large trucks, large scoop trams. We're about 3,600, 4,600 feet of development in that new ramp, which will give us a production level in the T2, T4 zones, which are at a vertical depth of about 200 meters, about 650 feet. So relatively shallow, and the ramp is about 2/3 of the way there now. So we'll touch first ore in the middle of summer, and then we got some development work before we start stoping. But this is a relatively straightforward story into production. We're also doing an upgrade to the historic mill that was there to bring to a sort of an interim mill of about 500 ton a day capacity. So we'd be able to mill that high grade ore at 500 tons a day. And we think that gives us an opportunity for next year to be in test production, significant test production as we go forward. We put the project has produced about 35,000 ounces just from the work that's being ongoing underground from the shaft. So we have 2 accesses to this ore body. One is the pre-existing shaft that was the Trixie shaft. It's a relatively small shaft at about 110 to 130 tons a day capacity. So we decided to drop this new ramp in, which will give us, ideally that ramp, it could produce 4,000 tons a day if you had that much mining to do, but we'll be looking to 200 to 500 tons a day and then ramping that up to steady state at 500 tons a day as we get further into the piece for next year. We're currently producing from vat leaching right now, using the exploration development muck as we're basically underground, jackleg and stoper driving drift to set up the drill stations. We've got 2 underground drills turning while we do the upgraded mine plan and model. So lots going on. But this is an extremely high grade deposit from what I can see, we came out, we did 4,550 samples from the underground, actually within the ore body. And the average grade was 74 grams gold and 94 grams silver. So quite extraordinary. I've never quite seen anything like it. And that was over the entire strike length of about 230 meters that's exposed right now. And as we get to know this high-grade deposit, this is a new style of mineralization that was not mined historically by Kennecott. Historically, Kennecott was mining for quartz flux in what was called the 75-85 zone, which was a pretty traditional sort of 2 to 8 meter wide quartz structure that runs about 5 kilometers. There's 5 gold mines on it on the eastern flank of the graben. So we've only explored one of the 5 gold mines so far. We want to get going. This Trixie was actually the lowest grade one, so that's encouraging. Our first resource here showed up at 28 grams a ton after a 3-stage top cut process at 215,000 ounces with an inferred resource of just under 20 grams for another 240,000 ounces. So, a very good start considering the amount of work that went in to get that done. And now with the underground drilling, we're filling that in, and we're seeing some very high grade structures within T4, and T has been the one that's been, that super high grade stuff with 16 kilos per ton of gold is so far the best assay from T2. So pretty exciting stuff. It really goes to what the genetics of this area is. This is probably the second most well-endowed mineralization in all of Utah, with Bingham being, sort of one of the world's best mineral endowments ever. So we're highly encouraged by what we're seeing, and whatever's driving this high-grade system underneath us, we think is going to be pretty important.
Okay. Wow, this is really outstanding, exciting. I know I am a shareholder, but does that mean with the, let's call it smaller scale production, like you said, the 200 to 500 tons per day, and with those grades, does that mean that, let's say, the exploration and some of the development work is paying for itself?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll probably do somewhere between 10 to 20,000 ounces from development work just through the existing vat leaching this year. And then for next year, the test mining, we think that we should be somewhere between 80 to 120,000 ounces, obviously to success of getting mining and all the other de-risking that we have to do once we get into the ore body. But those are the kind of the numbers that we're looking at. So this, not bad for test mining. But that's where we are. We have not completed a feasibility study on this work, because it was much easier just to drive the ramp in and start doing the test mining in the ore body than it was to feasibility work, given that it's relatively small amount of tonnage with a lot of ounces in it.
Okay, super. So let's assume for a second, and we are talking now really hypothetically, because I know it would be a forward-looking statement for the regulators. Given the fact that, as said, you are earning already money, and given the fact with let's say a test plant or development plant, you might do already 80 to 100,000 ounces. How much money do you need, and maybe what time frame to establish a large mining?
So we're in pretty good shape to do the work that's on hand right now. We had over $120 million of cash on the balance sheet, all hard dollars, and coming out of last quarter. And then we've got an equity book that's worth about 35-40 million. So we're trying to make sure that we use these dollars very efficiently. Things are going well on site, and as we get closer in, and there'll be some offset from some of the test mining work that we're vat leaching on. So we'll try and do what we usually do, which is to make $1 look like it's $1.30. We'll keep on our program, but we really think that we're in pretty good shape. We're also in the final leg of the permitting process at the Caribou Gold Project in British Columbia. So we've had good news there. The regulators have been satisfied with our submission for the EAA. And we're heading into the legislated timeline for the regulators to provide permits. So as we get to that, we'll also be looking at having a fully permitted project for 4,900 tons a day in British Columbia, which will be another exciting milestone for shareholders as we get closer to that. And to remind everybody, we have an existing mill there called the QR mill and we're looking at starting that one up with the north sorter and the existing mill and transitioning into the larger mine as we further in. So vision final permits there sometime Q1 next year, and that's another catalyst for shareholders as that de-risking process through the permitting continues on. We're highly encouraged by the scale of what we're seeing at Caribou. We've got about 600,000, almost 700,000 meters of drilling complete there. The overall resource was about 2 million ounces in mineable reserves, another 1.7 million ounces in measured and indicated, and then subsequently another plus million ounces. And this is only down to about 350 meters. Intercepted the ore body down at as far as 900 to 1,000 meters. So we think that Caribou is a bit like a Canadian Malartic, but the underground version of it. It just keeps getting really encouraged by the scale of that operation. The feasibility study we put out showed 200,000 ounces a year, but we think this is a project that can scale significantly beyond that. And that's probably one of the top tier assets in the space right now that we think can be scaled north of 300 and into the 400 and maybe up to the 500,000 ounce a year production level once we continue to get underground and we start to infill drill from the underground. We stopped drilling from surface because we figured that getting underground was going to be much more cost efficient to drill the rest of those ounces. But we've got a 4.1 kilometer long strike there out of 83 kilometers mineralized. So company's in very good shape, and the assets have continued to perform. And the motto of Osisko is what we call SUDS, which stands for Shut Up and Drill Stupid. We've certainly had success at the drill bit across the board within the Osisko group. And we continue to pursue that. And I think that between Caribou, with the bulk tonnage mining, and then Utah, it's a pretty unique portfolio. And then we still have the San Antonio project in Mexico.
Yeah, that would be my next question. Yeah.
Very low mix. So we're in the permitting process there. We produced gold there last year and this year from our stockpile. So we produced about 14,000 ounces from that stockpile. So we know the leach kinetics work pretty well. We're getting around 68% from leaching on the historic stockpile there. So that's been good. And as we look forward to that project, it certainly is a nice piece to have in the portfolio. It gives us a cheap and cheerful on a capex standpoint on an oxide mining and relatively low intensity. We've got the high grade potential at Trixie, which is the here and now. We're going to be mining there. We've got the porphyry copper target underneath that with those giant lithocaps. We can't wait to drill. We're hoping to start drilling in July. We're just in the process of securing large high power rigs to go in there. And then we've got the Caribou project, which is, we got involved in 2016, and now we're in the final leg. The EA is expected out this summer with final construction release permits for sometime in Q1 2024. So all things are moving forward, and we think this company has the basis to be a pretty significant mid-tier.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what do you think, just a guess, which project would be first in production, meaning commercial production?
Well, we've been in test production at Caribou throughout with BL2 production in 2022. So all three assets produced gold in 2022. So, we've got gold production on three different projects. Now we're transitioning to the actual mining part to head for, full production as we get these projects up and running. 2023 is an important year, and 2024 should be good as we get a lot of these things moving across the finish line.
Super. So 2024 would be the year of excitedness to really go in commercial production with the first one, and then let's rock it from there. So what do you think? Last question. When you have all three projects realized, what would be then the annual production like? Plus 500,000-600,000 ounces per year?
Well, I've called it the 5 and 5 program, 500,000 ounces a year in 5 years. So that was the goal that we put in the GPS, and I have, touch wood and continue to execute our projects. We have the ability to do that with the assets in hand, obviously subject to permitting, construction, and execution. We've got relatively low capex projects in terms of what we're doing in Utah. It's it's not the existing mill structure and infrastructure was there, the building, and it was a 2200 ton a day flotation circuit, and we're just a small circuit, gold circuit in that building. At Caribou, we have the existing mill that we own, which was up and running up until spring 2022. And it's really it's ready to go. It's about a 6-week restart on that. And then in Mexico, all we really need is the permit. We have a leach pad there that's still active today. We're producing small amounts of gold there today as we finish up that work. So we're in the breach, and I think as we go forward, and if we were to hit this copper porphyry target, if it turns out to have economic metal grades in it, that could be a real ignition phase for the company, because this thing has a chance to be something of significance. Certainly, and Mr. Friedland has been promoting Ivanhoe Electric on our border. He's a big believer. He's run his Typhoon. And Robert's probably one of the smartest guys in the copper business. So having Osisko and Robert Friedland and Freeport all working essentially on the same belt is exciting for me to see the convergence of all those three efforts on the go.
Super, perfect. Sean, thank you very much. Thanks for the update. And we want to see you definitely with all 3 mines in production, because one thing is for sure, the world needs your gold and your silver.
Best to the listeners with your investments, and please feel free to reach out to us if there's anything that wasn't clear. We're more than happy to talk about our projects. We haven't been this excited for a long time, and being able to drill these big porphyries this summer has got us all pretty ramped up. So.
Yeah, super. Thank you very much, Sean. Wish you all the best, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Sean Roosen, the CEO of Osisko Development, and you heard it, 5x5, 5 years plus 500,000 ounces production. I'm pretty sure Sean and the team will make it. 3 world-class projects, and things are really moving fantastically. And please don't forget, they are producing already in the development phase gold. So that means they have a cash flow, they have enough money in the bank, they really can do this. And hopefully by next year already commercial production with the Trixie mine. That would be fantastic. I'm a shareholder, maybe you too soon. Check it out. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.